Hey everybody, welcome. This is the very first episode of Wonderbots. So this is going to be the show where we're going to be talking bots and AI and the birth of general AI. Today, in just a few minutes, we're going to actually watch Tesla's AI Day 2022. They're going to be talking about Dojo. They're going to be talking about FSD improvements, the supercomputers that they have, and of course, the thing we're all waiting for is the reveal of the TeslaBot. I brought on board with me two of the most incredible people that you'll want to have to talk about this. One is Robert Scoble. So this guy, this self-described nerd,
I was just
is
lucky enough to get born, moved to Silicon Valley before Apple did.
he is famous, as many of you know, worked at Microsoft a bit, but then he started to just be wherever technology takes off. So he is he was at the birth of Siri. He was the birth of the very first Tesla car. He just told me today that he was there when they were thinking about Uber. He has interviewed all of the major entrepreneurs that you know and love. Not all, but a huge number of them. I call you the Forrest Gump of technology. You happen to be there, waving in the background. We also brought on board Ajay Juneja. So he is basically the AI expert. He just told me that he graduated in Carnegie Mellon with a robotics degree. He runs a company called Speak With Me, which is conversational AI platform. And maybe it's going to show up with a car near you, one of these AI cars, and you need to talk to it. Maybe the robot. So we're going to find out more if you think that that's your future, AJ. So say hi, guys.
Hello.
There you are. Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started with a few questions while we're waiting for it. We will be playing the actual live streaming as soon as it comes, and you can see here that we can play the sound. So when it comes, we're going to watch this together, and we'll try to stay quiet, but we'll make comments along the way. Of course, the big thing that we're going to do is wait until the TeslaBot is revealed, and we're going to get the panel members here to talk about it and share what their thoughts are. These are the two you want, a futurist and AI expert. All right.
Pioneer, really. I mean, when I worked at Microsoft 15 years ago, AJ drove a car to the campus there, and it was a car you could talk to. It was like Knight Rider out of, or Kid out of Knight Rider, right, AJ?
Yeah, actually, 17 years ago now.
And AJ also was the first guy I saw who built an AI auto tagging system. And of course, Tesla also has one and talked about that at its last AI day. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I would be one of the pioneers in the making AI do work for you, so we get to have more time with actual humans.
Go ahead and tell us your background, AJ. You're the one I have not yet met. We just met right now, 5 minutes ago. So tell me about your background, who you are, what you've done.
Hi, I'm AJ. I mean, I like to stand for compassionate AI. I mean, I'm a really good guy, a really good friend. There's a few sides to me. There's the AI side of me. There's the radically generous side of me. Some of the projects I've worked on. So I grew up in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, a place called Lower Merion. Kobe Bryant played basketball at my chemistry teacher's house.
Yeah.
He was a couple of years ahead of me. Went to college at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. I really indulged in technology there. I studied mechanical engineering, computer science, robotics, and computational linguistics. Ended up starting a company with Matthias Tenenke called Speak With Me off of research that was originally, I was the undergrad research helper on his PhD thesis, which, was one of the early voice assistant platforms. In addition to Speak With Me, I worked on still working on a project at Stanford that's hunting down human traffickers that are burning down the Amazon rainforest, and turning that into coal mines. So that's using satellite imagery. I'm also getting another company started in the background, tentatively called Refarm, that's going to be, looking at it's kind of not just carbon credits, but like we're looking at a kind of holistic, auditable approach to helping heal the planet. that may or may not share some technology similarities with the tech from Stanford that's hunting down human traffickers.
Wow.
Probably does share some technology similarities to that as a starting point. Yeah, so I mean, I'm also one of the trendsetters in, Robert calls it auto tagging. I called it a data generator, a simulator, an automatic verification tool, basically generating correct data for your AI so you can have the system train itself and also not have to spend many, many billions of dollars building out the actual systems and scenarios and all the edge cases, because it's nice to be able to generate all that for you. You do end up with something I call a combinatorics explosion when you do that. So you may end up having to do some creative things to deal with that. We had to, and I will not disclose how we did that. And we'll let that be a challenge. Robert?
Yeah, I just wondered, since you're a pioneer, in the few minutes we have left, what are you looking for tonight? What are you going to be watching for from a technology standpoint? And then what are you, the goal of this is a recruitment day, right? To get people like you to work for Tesla to complete the robot or do the Robotaxi, stuff like that. I'd like to know, what are you looking for from a career standpoint to be offered tonight?
First, I'm going to answer what am I looking for tech-wise. I want to see that this robot is real, because last year it was a human in a suit. And I want to see how much progress they've made. I want to understand its power consumption and battery range, if they ever disclose that. I want to compare it to what I've seen from Boston Dynamics over the years. To me, they've been the big trendsetter in robots that can walk like people and jump and climb stairs and balance themselves. I want to understand how it's balancing itself. Like, how does the hip work? What's the gyroscopic motion? What's its freedom of motion? How much does this thing weigh? How useful would this be?
125 pounds, supposedly.
Okay, so it weighs about the same as a small human. And how useful is this in an assembly line? Like, can it actually be a human substitute on an assembly line?
Just a second, quick point. It's 6:16, and Elon said that it's supposed to start on the dot sharply at 6:15, and it hasn't. So we will turn it on as soon as it turns on. Keep going, AJ. Robert.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to see the robot, like, what can it do, and how useful is it in the assembly plant? What's it going to do to revolutionize? Let's start with car manufacturing, but manufacturing in general. Am I going to be able to have a robot butler in my house, like Rosie the robot from the Jetsons one day? What else do we want this thing to do? Do we want it to drive the car for you? Like, redo the Robotaxi with an actual physical robot, or is it okay that the robot's a disembodied agent, or the body of the robot is the car? I've always thought the body of the robot being the car is fine, right? But maybe it's useful in, like, delivery, right?
Okay, it's starting, guys. Let's be quiet for a second. Let's watch this. Thank you, everybody. So we just finished watching 3 hours worth of AI Day 2, AI Day 2022. We got Robert Scoble here, who's a futurist. He's a futurist. Ajay Juneja, and he is an AI expert and also studied robotics when he was younger. And he's the only one of the 3 of us who understood what they heard about. So, guys, go ahead, take it away. What was your reaction to today's reveal of the bot?
It reminded me of the Boston Dynamics robots, which always had a tether. So it's amazing that they did it without a tether. It has balance. It can walk. It can identify objects. It can water plants. It's probably going to be able to walk upstairs at some point. I think actually robot tipping is going to be a thing, though. So people do have to worry about that, and they do have to make it robust enough to handle that. because there might be some anger in things like Amazon warehouses or Tesla factories or something if they're.
So was this way beyond what you expected in terms of what they were going to release, or was it too slow? Was it, pretty weak?
I mean, its dynamics are not fast yet. It's not as fast as some of the Boston Dynamics robots that I've seen, but everything they have is a great starting point. Yeah. And I would say if you give that another 5 years, it's going to be pretty impactful. I mean, there's more to do on it, but they've done a great job. And I mean, this is our Isaac Asimov books from my childhood. I don't know, Robert, did you read those? These are coming to life now.
Can't hear you, Robert.
Can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, Irina dreamed about having a robot as a child. I mean, this has been a dream for a lot of us. Right?
What was your reaction, Robert?
I was
based on what you've. Exactly. So when you've seen lots of other robots, you were just at the giant AI factory offices. What was your reaction?
Way more advanced than that, not even close, right? You can sort of understand why a company goes out of business before it gets to the market, because it just doesn't have that kind of engineering effort and the kind of funding behind it to make that happen. That's what Tesla has a business model to support development of this kind of robot.
Oh, I think there's another aspect to it. And
compared to Willow Garage or something like that, or Giant AI, right?
Yeah, more than that, though, they also, I mean, she has an environment of creative joy, right? So there's a piece of work I wrote years ago called Scaling Joy that talks about the two types of leadership: joy, unity, gratitude, and celebration with emotional safety. And then the other type is fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, and blame, right? And Elon definitely took a jab at one of the fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, and blame companies whose engineers are not very productive compared to his own team. And,
the rest of the industry.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the whole industry. Like, I ran my startup with lots of creative joy, and we were first to market, or among the first to market. 12 things over 22 years.
I'm talking about
let's stick to the robot first.
Big company.
Yeah.
Tesla is a big company. Pulling that off is extremely impressive.
Yeah. As an AI person, what was more advanced than you were thinking it was, right? Or what was less, or what would you like to, tell us? Because you actually build it. You're in the math. You understand that whole demo, where the rest of us were.
I like how what was the most impressive to me was the holistic thinking behind all of it. Leveraging all of the self-driving tech for the humanoid robots, leveraging the humanoid robot for the self-driving tech later on too. It didn't surprise me that the auto labeling has gotten to this depth and level. I'm actually extremely happy that it has, because when I started talking about doing that 3 years ago, even though I started doing it like 6 years ago, no one understood what we were talking about. And people just give me blank stares, even in the AI industry. And the only people I could talk to about it were like Tim Zaman at Tesla and Milan Kovac at Tesla. Yeah, those were the only two other people that I could really talk to about that in depth. Granted, we were also in a pandemic, but we're part of that. But I was like, I went to like every AI company around, and no one was doing that. And I don't, even to this day, I don't know other AI companies doing that, and definitely not in self-driving.
So what I saw today was they said, first of all, 6 to 8 months is what they had spent to do this. I saw a robot with all the parts that's needed, and they have been working to optimize it. And the three things that they said that they're really focused on is it needs to be in slim factor, it needs to be in a uniform manner, the actuators all have to be uniform, and it had to be something that you can produce in volume production, because that's the only way you're going to get the price lowered. So it looks like it can work already. And what shocked me was that that I thought that the biggest part, the hard part, is going to be the brains and the battery. And they just seem to just gloss over it. They go, the battery's going to be in the chest area and the torso area, and it's going to be enough to last for a whole day. The brain's going to be up here, and we're just going to port what we're seeing in FSD and put it in here. But what we're working on right now is all the parts. And I don't know any other company that can make these parts at this volume, because if you make it at this volume, then it's going to be able to get to the sub 20,000. So it doesn't matter to me that Boston Dynamics has 6, 10, 25 of their versions. They're going to be these massive things. They're custom built. They're massive pieces of steel. They'll make maybe a 50, maybe they'll make 100, maybe they'll 300. These guys are thinking already of making 1 million of these bots. And so that was my thing. I did feel like it was a little slow, and I was hoping that it was going to be faster than that. What's your comments on that?
All right, I'll go first. So the slow stuff can be handled just from evolutions of their computers, evolution of their actuators. Very easy to solve. On the economies of scale piece, number one, leveraging the same computer that's in Robert's car or the newer versions of that. They're already producing a bunch of them. They don't have to change the assembly line at all. This reminds me of like the early PCs and stuff. Like you already had all the parts out there, so it was easy to mass produce them. Using similar actuators everywhere on there, then they can produce lots more of them very quickly.
Yeah.
It brings the cost down, and then that Dojo computer is extremely power efficient. It's more power efficient than anything NVIDIA offers. And thus 8 watts of power, you can do a lot with that. 8 watts of power with a 2.3 kilowatt hour battery. Now, granted, with the movement, let's say that robot uses like 25 watts of power. All right, so let's say it's using 25 watts of power per hour, and you got 2.3 kilowatt hours. You've got 8 to 9 hours of battery life on that.
Was that right? Yep.
That's a full workday, on a factory floor, right? And I mean, it's 2.3 kilowatt hours today in their prototype. What's to stop them from doubling that at some point?
Right.
Or having some option for that at some point? Nothing. Right? I mean, they do that with their cars, right? Or they used to. I guess they sort of do now too.
Yeah, they talked about each actuator. They've been improving it so that it uses less kilowatts or whatever the word is to power it. Yeah.
Robert, what's your take?
I have to watch that thing 3 times before I have a really informed position on everything. But they showed it off watering plants. They showed it off in the factory. They showed it off walking around. They showed it us doing a variety of tasks, moving boxes, and how it sees the world. It's very advanced. I think the holistic thing you talked about, AJ, is what really I take away from tonight. This company is firing on all cylinders across the company and innovating in a way that no other company is. No other company comes close. I mean, okay, Apple might come out with a cool product next January, and we'll talk about that then. But yeah, this is pretty amazing company.
Those things you mentioned, those demos, were actually videos, though. That's the thing. I was a little disappointed. The watering can was a video. The walking the box was a video. And the only thing we saw live was this version 1 prototype that was kind of just dawdling along.
It's what we expected. It's a lot of demoware, right? A lot of smoke and mirrors. Does this really work? Could I get it in my house and start using it for things? No.
Does anyone remember Sony's first CD player demo where they had this giant cable running behind the scenes at CES to this bigger box?
I've seen a lot of demos over the years, right?
Yes, you have, Robert. You've seen it all. But I mean, it's not the iPhone moment when Steve Jobs came out and said, this is a smartphone, and it was a prototype, but it was pretty well functioning already, and they released it within 3 months. But I still think this is a massive moment in history. You know that they can do this. They're the only company, I've been saying, that can do this. Really, there's no one that has the brains, the FSD, the manufacturing to produce the parts and the factories to mass produce this in, hundreds of thousands of numbers. And so it's going to happen. But I just thought, yeah, okay, it's there. I love the form factor. The form factor looks great. I think it looks cool. I think it's going to look great. What do you guys think of that? 5 fingers, 11.
The hands are more advanced than what I saw at Giant AI company. Similar idea, right? Sensors on the pads, ways to move the fingers, and then 6 off or whatever you call it.
I did not. Nobody thought it was going to be 5 fingers. Did you guys? Everybody kept thinking. Did you?
Yeah, I thought it would. I mean, I went to Giant AI. It had 5 fingers. This had to have 5 fingers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Something to bring up on the iPhone. January 2007, we all saw the prototype functioning. The reality was that they started working on that in 2003 as an iPad.
Yeah, iPod.
Right? So,
iPad.
No, as an iPad. Right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing they did was to touch to Zoom, and they thought they were going to make like a big photo sharing product with it. And then Steve pushed them to make a keyboard you could type on the screen and then do it in a smaller form factor. So I'm saying what you saw in 2007, there were already 4+ years of work on that.
More. My
brother
worked for Steve Jobs. It worked at Apple. More. It was
sure. I'm talking about the moment, though, right? An iPhone moment.
Yeah.
So
Apple and Tesla are hard to compare, and we should probably have a show like in 2 weeks. After that.
Yeah.
After we all watch that video 3 times and get our wow out of our heads, because Apple and Tesla are very interesting companies, and next year we're going to see them come at the world very differently. Right? Tesla's coming at the world through transportation as a service. Apple's coming at it through an experience services model in your home. So, I see a lot of Tesla people sort of poo-poo my Apple opinions, but sorry, there's a major here, and if you're betting against them, that's sort of stupid too. That's just as stupid as betting against Elon.
Well, I love that they came right up. The first minute of the thing. Here's the bot. What did you guys think of that? I thought it was bold. I thought it was wonderful.
He wanted to show off that this thing is real. It's not just a dancer in a suit, and it's doing real work, and there's a whole real team behind it, and there's a whole real methodology of how they're building this. I mean, the ARC actuators, they're doing AI on the actuators to figure out the efficiency of it, right? Wow, that's pretty advanced to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do on a production line or in a what's this holistic nature of the AI being used everywhere. I mean, my God, I couldn't get Volkswagen to think about things like that ever. I'd be blue in the face.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, and then I predicted at the beginning of the pandemic that Tesla was going to kill every other car company, and they've got a straight shot to like 20 million electric cars a year. And I don't even know who's going to get the lithium for the rest, because Apple, Samsung, LG, and Panasonic own the rest of the battery supply. Anyway, and now you add in this holistic AI approach. I don't know that anyone's going to be able to buy a better car than a Tesla. And I don't know that consumers are ever going to get a better value car than a Tesla.
And in about the time that this robot shows up, Robotaxi shows up, humanless driving shows up, and that's going to dramatically reduce the cost of transportation. People are not going to buy cars in 5-10 years after this. Not nearly the numbers that they are today.
I mean, it's possible you may have Tesla have their own Uber-like service that you get to make your own money off of if you lend out your car.
That's what they're aiming. That's what Robotaxi is, and Tesla's building that.
Right. So Tesla as a Turo of sorts or an Uber of sorts, there might be an owner-renter model there. So again, then the Tesla car becomes the most profitable car to own instead of if you can afford a car. It's an interesting world.
Let's stick to the bot. I'm still this is the show on the Wonderbot, so let's stay there. So you guys saw that. I felt that they really spent a lot of time showing that the things that they're using for FSD is being ported and being used for the bot, and they said it in both all the parts of the presentation. And that's the part that I think we all understood, but they really seem to emphasize that. And then I think then they say that, yeah. So what was your reaction to that? What did you guys think about? Was there anything missing that, or is it a pretty well straight shot? Whatever they're using for FSD is exactly what they can use for the bot.
So A, it makes sense. B, it's way less work. C, it costs way less money.
Yeah.
D, they get massive economies of scale because they're already shipping millions of those FSD computers in their cars. Another thing, they're not going to have to make two separate roadmaps. The evolution of the FSD computer is the evolution of the humanoid computer. It's highly unlikely that the pace of a humanoid robot needs to match the pace of a self-driving car in terms of object detection.
Oh, sorry. Repeat that. Went over my head. Say it again.
It's highly unlikely that the pace, meaning running, walking pace, and just observing and gain scene detection, the pace of a humanoid robot, in terms of its ability and time it needs to do scene understanding, a self-driving car always needs to do that more quickly, because the faster the car is going, the faster it needs to do scene understanding. Right. And on a highway, that car is going way faster than a humanoid robot is. Most likely. I mean, it depends. Maybe they'll make a cheetah version. Maybe they'll make a cheetah version. And
so you're saying that
40 or 50K.
Yeah, as a robot is sitting there and it's hard to move, it's like, seconds, 10 seconds, a whole minute. I'm watching, I'm looking at the exact same scene versus in a car, it's like changing every second, like flying through, right? They got to make decisions in microseconds.
Yeah, now where you might potentially have a fair number of objects going by is if that robot's helping out on an assembly line. Right. And then that's not very fast. Like the likelihood of that going at more than 60 frames a second is not.
And there's already specialized robots that do a lot of fast moving work. If there's thousands of things going by a minute, there's a very specialized robot to do that kind of job.
So they didn't really talk about this, but I mean, I guess it was just a straight shot of the computer that's sitting in the car. It's going to go right into the head of the bot, and they're just going to use 2 cameras, and that's it. They're done. Is that what this is?
Which means it's cheap to make compared to putting a LiDAR on it, even if you say, a LiDAR today is $400.
LiDAR, could you add?
Not 25, right? So now your robot adds $1,600 worth of cost, retail, versus 75. That's a big difference.
Well, there's another big piece to the LiDAR, Robert. Blinding the humans, because people are going to be in close proximity to the humanoid robot.
Yeah.
And so there's a danger of the LiDAR blinding you if you're like right up next to it.
Yeah.
It's like you guys said, it's less dangerous if it hits something. What do you guys think about the price point, $20,000? Is this just, him saying, just like he did before, we're going to make a $25,000 car, the Cybertruck will be $50,000?
My brother owns a bar sitting right over here, and he's going like this to me, and that tells me there's a big.
So let's talk about that. Imagine if this is true. Imagine if, because they can make 1 million bots because of their factories, and they've uniform and scaled this down, a $20,000 bot, right? Your brother who owns a bar is going to immediately buy 1 bot for $20,000 instead of paying a wage for
it's as good as what was shown tonight.
Yeah, because this
Robot
one bot.
Bartenders have been demos in research for 20 years.
So you're going to buy a bot?
I would. I got to tell you, it depends on what it can do.
Right. Of course.
The robot bartender has been a research use case for 20 years.
By the way, I don't care about the bartender. I pay the bartenders $2.18 an hour. So it doesn't feasibly make sense. But I pay my cooks $42,000 a year. So if it can do the job of 1 cook, and it takes 3 robots to do the job of 1 cook, by 10 of them.
And the dishwashing too.
People will still have jobs too because they'll be managing the robots in their other locations.
Sure.
Take over. Right?
I mean, at $20,000, that's a one-time price. That's a one-time fee, and then you can use it more than 8 hours a day, and you can use it for over a year. So it just immediately pays for itself,
there's
right?
going to be a subscription fee to it too. You're not just going to pay 20
Right. Robert's brother, what's going to happen is you're going to have to pay for a skills marketplace. So if you wanted to cut a potato, you're going to have to pay for that. If you then wanted to, cut a cucumber, you might have to pay for that app to do that.
Can I make money writing those apps?
Yes.
And you know what?
Employment for regular people.
Actually, if it's fully AI and I could just teach it and it teaches robots, then cool.
Exactly. You can get paid for that. So if you taught it how to cut a potato a certain way that you wanted to, then you can absolutely upload that, and then other restaurant people will want to pay for that.
That's the one thing I didn't see from Tesla today that I hope they make is a suit for the human to wear so that you can train the robot.
Gotcha.
Emotions, right?
That's kind of cool.
So basically you wear some suit with all...
They showed it. No, they showed it, AJ.
They did?
They did.
Okay.
They showed a guy wearing a suit, and then as he moved, it will then, the robot will replicate it, and whatever he sees is what the robot sees.
You know the best part about the robot,
That's awesome.
It will know exactly what it cooked, exactly what it used, exactly what it threw out. So it tells me exactly what the inventory is.
As opposed to wastage or stealing, or what do you
have to go count everything?
Okay, God. Oh, I see. No need to count it later. Inventory. Yep. Gotcha. It's a calculator.
Weren't computers always calculators?
And a security guard at night, it'll be walking around, right?
They can go to sleep, and we have alarm systems.
Did they ever talk about dog friendliness for that? Because I wonder how dogs are going to react to that.
No, there's a lot of unanswered questions. The biggest bucket of unanswered questions was the voice. How do we control this thing, and how well does it have a conversation? And it has to have a much better conversation than Siri's having. So I'm really interested in and I'm sure they're going to have a voice. You can see it. Voice Day next year, right? Voice Day.
I mean, it's pretty easy to make a really good, high quality, emotionally expressive text-to-speech voice. I've already done it. People know.
It's true, though. He did do it.
You did do it, yeah.
But AJ, what is Whisper? OpenAI just announced Whisper AI, this voice, open source voice system. What is happening in voice right now? Because there's a lot that sort of is happening in voice. I keep going to tech talks and so.
I mean, honestly, nothing that's excited me in the last 3 years. Like, I haven't seen anyone that's out innovated the stuff that I've made. So, I think what we'll see though is some more large open source data sets to do language support, better voice modeling. The big breakthroughs were a few years ago, the transformers in language modeling. And you can see Tesla's using that all over their system now. And people are using transformers in computer vision too. But there haven't been any breakthroughs since then. And I think that's one of the reasons someone like Andrej Karpathy would leave. And admittedly myself, I'm moving on from Speak With Me in a few months, probably. That's as much as I can say there. There's only so much you can do, and I think we hit our limits there. Now, the robot's certainly going to want a great voice and a great input system as well. It's certainly very feasible to make that, and using today's tech, you could make that a lot more quickly than what it took Speak With Me to originally make that stuff. Over the last 2 decades. Like you could create the system that we had state-of-the-art 3 years ago. That took us 6 years to make. You could do it today in 2 years with all of today's tech. Just remember, there was a lot of invention that we were doing in the middle that no one had done yet. So now that that's all been done, So I would
talk to us about what Speak With Me did, because you had a whole bunch of voice systems in the car that you could talk with your voice and get a response back. Tell us about some of the work you've been doing there.
Yeah, so we built one of the first voice assistant companies, Siri being another one of them. We focused originally on everything running on device, while Siri focused originally on running on servers. The client-side stuff was a lot faster than the server-side stuff. The server-side stuff was a lot more expensive to run. Adam Chair and I talked multiple times about how to integrate the two. Sadly, Steve Jobs died like 4 months before I got the combination of client server working, and yeah, that was a painful moment. So we did hybrid client server. We were among the first to do deep learning and supporting the NVIDIA platform, among the first to do emotional understanding, emotional expressivity, and we actually disabled voice biometrics. Even though we had that, there's a danger to it, because if you turn it on, you can now find everything someone said. So imagine, Robert, that if we turned that on for you, finding every single YouTube video you were ever in.
Cool.
It's all out there.
It's all out there.
It's all out there, right?
It's going to happen soon, eh? So change the topic a little bit to recruiting event. This was a recruiting event. And from my perspective, Tesla is seen as a car company. But after today, they've shown that they're also a robot company. They've shown that they've got their supercomputer that's advanced. They've shown that they've got a smart team. So AJ and Robert, you guys are in the tech field. Is this enough? I mean, they've already getting the top brilliant minds of machine learning and AI. They've already been getting that for the last several years. But does this change the game, and they're going to actually get even more people? Because, you know, some developers did not want to work on a car, but now they're going to be very excited. What was your thoughts on that?
Okay, I'll speak first. It's the only big company I'm seeing that's full of creative joy in this moment, right? I mean, NVIDIA also has a lot of that, and Google in some places, and Waymo in some places, and definitely not Facebook and Meta. Like, I think, you know, so for an engineer that's attracted to creative joy and creative freedom and is confident in what they can build and confident in themselves, it's a fabulous place to work.
Yeah.
However, note every one of those details I said, because it's a stressful place to work when you're among the best in your field, and then you're working with the other people who are among the best in your field. How do you stand out in that environment? I mean, I went to a college like that, and the answer was pick one thing and be the best in the world in it. You can't be the best in the world in everything. And I mean, if I was to go interview there and they hired me, and I mean, I'd have to take a narrow focus over what was covered today, and focus on like, I don't know, like language modeling for like lane detection. I would not have the bandwidth to do like the Dojo hardware and the software and like do it at the level that they're doing it all at. I'd have to like pick a very small space of that. And I think their team probably is like that, where each person probably has a specialty in a few things, and they have some breadth in a lot of things. I mean, I'm like that. Yeah, but
that's a good answer.
I don't know any other big companies that are offering that. I don't think you'll get that at Apple. I don't think you'll get that at any of the self-driving companies, except for maybe the British one, Wave, which Bruno invested in.
Yeah,
it's a rare thing
to have a system that learns faster than Tesla, but they don't have the data, so
they don't have the cars.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of things.
But don't you guys think? I mean, if I was a developer, I'd be freaking out right now, thinking, "Oh my God, I can now code skills for this bot to do whatever." Like, let's say I want it to be a surgeon, and they have companies that are really the surgical bot, but they're like the arms, and that's all they do. Imagine if it was a real surgeon, that can do things in different environments. That's really changing the world. I'd be attracted to that.
I would be attracted to that in 5 to 10 years, not right now, Herbert. Like, A, there's no robots yet. B, there's no development kit yet.
All right, now we get into the stock and compensation part of the interview.
There you go. Get there before it's built.
Because Tesla has a business model, so can offer you, AJ, a lot of money to go and do that little tiny job.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd happily try to turn a robot into a surgeon.
Yeah.
That would be kind of useful.
But yeah, one thing we said a little bit earlier that I think we should continue talking about is that if another company wanted to do this and they're a robot company, they would need to come up with a business model to support that business while they're developing the robot before it's even sold. Whereas Tesla,
Boston Dynamics has.
Right. Whereas Tesla they're making money on the cars, and the cars are being given FSD. And so all of their efforts and everything they've built for that, they can reuse for the bot. And so to them, it doesn't cost them anything to build the bot. It's like it's an extra little layer, right? Can you guys speak to that? Like what would it take a Boston Robotics or a Giant AI, and they went out of business recently?
I don't know what I would be doing at another robotics company. I'm worried for the Procter and Gamble's of the world, because if the robot actually gets into our homes the way that Elon's talking about in 5 years or 10, even if it's 10 years, the robot is going to have the relationship with you, with the owner, with the person in the house. The robot is going to be told, do the dishes. The robot can replace the Tide soap. Procter & Gamble spent a lot of money building that brand so that every time I wash dishes and run out of soap, I go and buy Tide again, right?
Oh my God.
Well, the robot can buy a different brand.
Don't forget all the assembly lines at Procter & Gamble that their competitors are going to use.
That's a stretch, Robert. That's a stretch. I got to think of that.
Because I've watched distribution over my decades. As distribution changes, brands go away and new brands are born. And this is a new distribution method for getting
very interesting. Yeah.
Are we going to see the In-N-Out burgers and the McDonald's hire these Tesla robots?
No, for sure. Absolutely. First one's there.
There's 13,000 McDonald's. How many do they need?
Here's a big question. Some people are saying that Elon and Tesla could actually disrupt Amazon. So Amazon today, the reason they disrupted the retailers is because they created these distribution centers in the suburbs, and then they were able to deliver, and because of their size and scale, they were able to reduce that price. Now they're saying that if Elon and TeslaBot, you have a bot and a Robotaxi, you can go from point to point. You don't need a distribution center anymore. You can deliver any product from any place, delivered to your home at whatever at no price, because the distribution will be near as nil. And then there you go, Robert. What do you think about that?
I'm not too worried about Amazon, because Amazon has a similar AI team to Tesla, thousands of people working on Alexa, right? They'll figure it out. I'm worried about Procter & Gamble and all the other car companies and all the other companies that will rely on getting access to the Tesla robot to get distribution into the home. Those companies are in trouble.
Well, so what do you do if you're another car company?
What
do you do if you're another car company? If you're Ford?
Ford's actually doing a pretty good job of trying to deal with this, but they just don't have the AI teams that these guys have.
They can't, yeah. Well, I just said it today in a space. I said that if you are Ford, so while all these companies are trying to catch up and build EV cars, Tesla has redefined what an EV car is. Now you're going to need to have the autopilot capability in it, or the automated collision in it. And then now that they have robots, maybe over time, their costs and margins will even go down further. So it's almost like a possibility for anybody, because by the time they catch up, Tesla's off into another paradigm shift.
The internal culture at these big companies is one that will lead it not to compete. It just doesn't know how to compete. At Ford, they make everything on a rail. They can't change. You tell them, hey, Tesla's doing casting machines. They can't change.
They can't do that.
I talk to these people. AJ, you work with the car companies all the time. You know the culture of innovation there.
I said 3 years ago that basically Tesla's going to kill at least half of the car companies out there.
Yeah.
All right, Tesla has a straight shot to being twice the size of Volkswagen or Toyota.
All right, let's have final comments on what your opinion on what you saw today with the bots.
Oh, Herbert, you brought up the disruption of Amazon. Yes, if I was at Amazon, I would be worried about this, right? What does it do to the business? And I'd have a team working on that. Same thing at Apple. It's not that next year Apple is going to be competed with by Tesla, because that's not going to, Tesla didn't announce an augmented reality glasses today, right? They sort of hinted at it when they started talking about neural radiance fields and other things.
And the way they're going to train it, because I was telling you about this, okay, so let me explain it to the audience, right? The way that Robotaxi succeeded is because they have millions of miles of real world driving, right? So all of our Tesla cars have 8 cameras, and it's capturing all that video and it's feeding it back to the mothership. And you heard about today with Dojo and others capturing that and processing it. Okay.
35 gigs a day is going up from my car.
How do you get something similar, analogous in the bot? How do you get those millions of miles of videos, right? Have videos of the bot in various scenarios. So let's say that you're in a factory, Tesla factory. How do you get those videos? I'm thinking, and I think you nodded to this, Robert, that they're going to have to come out with AR glasses. The Tesla come out with AR glasses. We're all going to wear it. All the employees at Tesla will wear that in their factories. They will take all those videos and they watch what that employee is doing. And they're basically feeding and teaching the robots. And then maybe I'll buy it, and I'm at my home folding the laundry. I'm folding the laundry, and I'm basically teaching it as I wear the glasses. Is that a stretch?
At the end of the presentation, Elon Musk said that you can skin the robot, you can dress the robot, you can change the robot.
Sure.
Different costumes on it. That requires somebody to have augmented reality glasses.
No. Oh, if it's virtual, but no, I think it's like real clothing. It could be real clothing. It could be real clothing.
You could order that and have it shipped to you, and now dress up the real, robot with physical clothing. But you can also make augmented clothing for it.
So who's first, Tesla AR glasses or Apple AR glasses?
Apple is like
Apple, of course.
If you started thinking it through, in the next decade, he's going to have a pair of glasses, absolutely. And I wouldn't be shocked if in the next 2 or 3 years, he has an announcement of that, right? Because it just makes sense. It's back to Adrian Kaler. He did Magic Leap and a robot car and an autonomous car. They all use the same data set underneath, right? So why wouldn't Elon come out with a pair of glasses that lets us entertain ourselves while the car is driving us around, or order the car, or dress up our robot, right?
Okay. The other point I've got to make, I truly believe this is the case, is that whenever you hear Elon say, I'm going to buy Twitter, or should I go and sell my stocks or pay taxes? And he tweets it out. Everybody thinks, oh, that's the moment he thought of it. No, he's already been thinking about this. Things had happened 6 months, a year ago. So when he says that the bot, we just started 6 to 8 months ago, I don't believe it. I think they started thinking this. They had a little team over a year ago, and that's why where they're at now is where they're at now. So they are working on lots of secret projects.
They also had to have a team that was capturing human beings and studying how they move, because that's how it sees a human being in the street. It knows whether a girl is going across a crosswalk, right? Or if it's a bicyclist, what is it? It knows that. It was trained to see that. So they had to do a lot of human factor testing, development, AI development, just to understand the human body from the outside. Now they get to use that work on the inside too. And they didn't really talk about that as well.
Well, the video game industry, like for Unreal Engine, has been doing motion capture for ages on humans. So that tech's out there. I wouldn't be surprised if some of that tech was used to get some of the early data, combined with everything self-driving cars are capturing, or all Tesla cars are capturing, because regardless of whether you pay for the feature, it is recording.
It's watching.
All right, guys, let's shut this down now. We've been here for 4 hours. So let's close it today. We'll come back again next week. Thank you, everybody, for participating. I will cut this and release just this part of it because it was 4 hours. It's way too long. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, AJ.